secrets and intertwined relationships, nothing can shake up the characters' lives more than the truth about a child's parentage. While everyone still believes that Cole is Claire's biological father, Victoria has been hiding a bitter and tormenting truth for years. Claire's real father is not Cole but Billy, a truth known only to Victoria and a few very close people. This truth not only threatens to destroy the fragile peace between the characters, but also creates emotional undercurrents that can sink Claire's future and the future of those she loves. Victoria has always been haunted by bad choices and secrets that cannot be shared with anyone. Years ago, in a moment of weakness, Victoria let her heart go astray, seeking comfort in Billy when her marriage to Cole was in turmoil. It was a time when Victoria felt lonely, lost and unable to find understanding from the husband she thought she would be with for the rest of her life. The fleeting relationship with Billy left Victoria not only with remorse but also an indelible legacy, the birth of Claire. Although everything between Victoria and Billy was in the past, Victoria chose to remain silent, letting Cole believe that she was Claire's biological father, hoping that this would help her daughter grow up in a complete family, without lacking the love of a father. But the truth always has its own way of being revealed, and now Victoria must face the storm that she herself contributed to creating. Claire has lived in the love and protection of Victoria and Cole since childhood, but she always feels strange, an invisible distance that she herself cannot explain. Every time she saw Billy, who used to be her uncle, Claire felt a strange sense of familiarity, as if there was a deep connection between them that no words could describe. Sometimes, just for brief moments, looks, smiles or unconscious actions, Claire felt her heart beat strangely. She did not dare to ask, did not dare to dig deeper into those mixed feelings, because Claire always believed in what Victoria and Cole had built for her, a family, a solid home, even though sometimes things were not perfect. But then, when unusual signs began to appear, when questions about origins, about the past gradually became more and more urgent, Claire felt the uneasiness in her heart grow. She accidentally discovered old letters, scattered notes that Victoria kept very carefully, old photos with Billy appearing next to Victoria at the exact moment before she was born. Curiosity and suspicion grew, especially when Claire witnessed Victoria's confused eyes every time she asked about the past, about the love story between her mother and Cole, and her previous relationship with Billy. Not only stopping at feelings, Claire also discovered coincidences between herself and Billy that she had always overlooked, from small habits, to facial expressions, smiles, and behaviors, all were strangely similar to Billy, unlike Cole, whom she had always called father. During a sleepless night, after being unable to bear her own torment, Claire decided to confront Victoria. Victoria's eyes flashed with unprecedented fear when she saw her daughter mention the secrets she had kept hidden for so long. Victoria tried to deny it, tried to cling to the reason it's all in the past, but in the end, before Claire's determination and increasingly clear evidence, Victoria could no longer hide it. The truth was revealed in sobs and tears of regret. Victoria confesses that Cole is not Claire's biological father, and the one who really gave her life was Billy, the man who was Victoria's great love in the past. Claire feels like her world is collapsing. She doesn't know how to react when her whole childhood, her whole life suddenly becomes a lie, when everything she once trusted, relied on are just pieces of a fake picture that Victoria deliberately arranged. She is angry, hurt, and extremely confused. How could her mother lie to her for all those years? Why did Billy not know about her existence? And can Cole, who has always cared for, sacrificed, and loved her like his own son, forgive Victoria when he knows the truth? The questions rushing through Claire's mind keep her from sleeping, from thinking about anything other than finding the answer. Victoria is no different from a prisoner of her own choice. She feels guilty for taking away Billy's right to be a father, and feels guilty towards Cole for letting him live a lie for so many years. But deep down, Victoria just wants to protect Claire from the hurt, from the judgment of public opinion, from the complications that life brings. She is afraid that if Billy knows the truth, he will take custody of Claire, or worse, hate her for what she has done. Victoria is also worried that Cole will never forgive her, that everything she has worked so hard to build for so many years will collapse in just a moment. Meanwhile, Billy still lives with his own obsessions, unaware of the terrible truth that Victoria hides. He still sees Claire as a grandchild, sometimes suddenly feels something very special between them, but never dares to think further. Billy has always been an emotional person, somewhat impulsive, but also full of love and responsibility. If he finds out that Claire is his biological child, Billy's entire inner world will definitely change dramatically. This truth will force Billy to face his past mistakes, the times he turned his back on Victoria, and all the choices that have shaped his life up until now. When all the secrets are finally revealed, the relationships between the characters are completely turned upside down. Claire can no longer look at Victoria and Cole the same way. She has to face Billy, try to accept the truth and find a way to rebuild the lost trust. Victoria has to accept the consequences of her choices, facing the judgment of her loved ones. Cole, after a period of shock and suffering, will have to decide whether to continue to love and care for Claire as before, or let go of everything because of the feeling of betrayal. Billy will have the opportunity to become Claire's father, but at the same time must accept the truth about the damage that Victoria's lies have caused to the whole family. The truth about Claire's origin is not only a shock but also an opportunity for all the characters to look back at themselves, look back at what they have done, what they really want in life. For Claire, this is the time for her to grow up, to be strong enough to overcome the pain to find her true value. For Victoria, this is a difficult journey of redemption, but also the last chance for her to fix what she has done wrong. For Billy, this is the first time in his life that he can be a real father, even though it is late, and it is also the time for him to prove that he is worthy of Claire's love. And finally, for Cole, despite being betrayed, he still has to choose between forgiveness and letting go, between his love for Claire and the deep hurt because of Victoria's lies. The story will continue to bring unexpected changes in relationships. The truth revealed is a sharp knife that separates but can also be a thread to reconnect broken hearts, if each person knows how to face the past, bravely forgive each other and know how to cherish what remains after all the events. In the world of Genoa, where every secret can change fate, the truth about Claire is not only the end of a lie but also the beginning of a new journey. A journey of maturity, love, courage and forgiveness that is not easy at all. The atmosphere at the Newman mansion was filled with a delicate tension, where every smile seemed carved in stone and every glance held 1,000 unspoken words. It was a gloomy afternoon, the last rays of sunlight shyly filtering through the glass windows, illuminating the silent figure of Claire standing behind the curtains, her eyes gazing into the distance without really seeing anything. There was a turbulent undercurrent inside her, something that was about to burst forth, but she held it in, waiting for something no one in this family had ever truly dared to face, the truth. Victoria walked slowly towards them, each step heavy as if she were carrying on her shoulders a load of memories, mistakes, and fears that could never be dispelled. When Victoria placed her hand on Claire's shoulder, she felt a feeling that was very real, very close but also haunting, a motherly love that was always shrouded in the darkness of secrets. "Claire, I think it's time you knew everything," Victoria whispered, her voice both determined and trembling. Claire didn't turn around, but her shoulders shook. She had known this for a long time, but some part of her still clung to the hope that the worst would be buried forever. Victoria pulled her daughter closer, her fingers cold with worry. Claire turned back, her eyes red and glistening with tears. When her mother spoke, Claire's heart clenched. Victoria confessed that Claire's biological father was not who they had thought, but someone else, a truth kept hidden for so long that it had become a giant shadow in Claire's mind. And then, when Victoria finished speaking, Claire burst into tears, not from anger, but from the pain of betrayal, disorientation, and the cold truth that cut into the young girl's soul. In that moment, everything seemed to collapse. Claire's whole world suddenly became strange. She was no longer herself, and the image of the mother she once admired and trusted was now just a woman full of mistakes, secrets, and fears. Claire's tears were not only a release from the resentments that had accumulated for so long, but also the beginning of a journey to find herself again. She realized that everything she had ever known about herself, about her family, could be another mask, a mask meticulously built by many generations of Newman, by Victoria, Nikki, and Victor. Claire cried for herself, for the childhood covered by lies, for the love that she thought was pure, now turned out to be just a continuation of a series of mistakes and endless concealments. Meanwhile, on the ground floor of the Abbott mansion, Cal was chatting with Audra with such calmness and tact that it was difficult for those around him to realize what was really going on in his mind. Kyle had recently been seen with Audra, a smart and ambitious woman. Kyle's cold friendliness towards Audra not only confused his colleagues at the company, but also made Claire, who had always had a keen intuition for deception, feel extremely uncomfortable. Claire observed everything through the eyes of someone who was all too familiar with family turmoil. She wasn't exactly jealous of Kyle spending time with Audra, because deep down, she had never truly believed that Kyle was a loyal and honest man. What disgusted Claire was not the feelings between Kyle and Audra, but Kyle's sophisticated lies and ability to turn his face in an instant. In Claire's mind, Kyle was no different from the kind of manipulator her family had produced over generations. She looked at Kyle and saw glimpses of her grandfather Victor, a cunning man who exploited every weakness in his opponents to achieve his goals. She also couldn't forget her uncle Adam, a man who never let his conscience stand in the way of his path to power. Claire sometimes wonders if she is being too judgmental. She knows that her mother, Victoria, and her grandmother, Nikki, are both masters of the art of concealment, manipulation, and dramatic family drama. Nikki, with her long history of scheming from her youth until she became the pillar of the family, and Victoria, a woman so strong that she is ruthless when it comes to protecting what she loves. Claire knows that if they joined forces, they could write a book about the tricks, secrets, and sins hidden under the Newman family's glittering facade. However, it is only when Claire witnesses Kyle's lies that she truly realizes that the shadow of deceit has cast over her entire life. And then she wonders, is anyone in this family truly living honestly? The most surprising event occurs when Kyle's mother, Diane, appears at that sensitive moment. Diane is not one to be fooled, especially by her son. She watches Kyle with a keen eye, noticing every little change in his demeanor, his gaze, or even his half-jokes. Kyle thinks he can hide everything from his mother, but he forgets that Diane has lived her whole life in intrigue, and knows how to read people better than anyone else. When Diane catches Kyle in a secret conversation with Audra, she realizes something is wrong. It is not just a business conversation, but a calculation, a manipulation of each other, the kind that has made the Abbott and Newman families famous for generations. The question is, can Diane see through Kyle's plan, and more importantly, will she confront her son directly, or will she choose to silently observe and wait for the right moment to intervene? In the world of Genoa, where the truth is often revealed at the most unexpected moments, every choice carries a great risk. If Diane decides to confront him, Kyle will certainly be wary, and Audra will be even more cautious. On the contrary, if Diane continues to keep silent, things could explode at any moment, and the consequences are unpredictable. In addition, Claire is also faced with a difficult choice. Should she keep what she knows about Kyle's plan against Audra a secret, or tell Diane? Claire realizes that, despite her disgust for lies, she is also falling into a spiral of endless secrets, something she once hated in her family members. Claire's internal struggle reaches its peak when she realizes that whether she tells or not, she will hurt someone, either Diane, Kyle's loving mother, or herself, by carrying the burden of the truth. In the following days, the Newman and Abbott mansions were shrouded in a thick fog of secrets and intrigue. Claire avoided Victoria, not because she hated her, but because she was not ready to face her mother again after learning the whole truth about her biological father. Victoria understood that, but still silently followed her daughter's every step, waiting for the day Claire could forgive and accept her mother for who she really was. In another corner, Kyle continued his drama with Audra, unaware that every action had been observed by Diane and possibly Claire. Audra, as usual, kept her cool and confident exterior, but deep inside she also began to feel the risk of betrayal, an inevitable feeling in a world where everyone could be an enemy at any time. It was in this context that Claire matured more than ever. She realized that, even though she grew up in an environment filled with intrigue, lies and manipulation, she still had the right to choose her own path. Claire no longer wanted to be a victim of family secrets, nor did she want to be the one to continue that chain of lies. The moment she saw her mother cry, Claire understood that in this world, no one is perfect, no one is without mistakes. What matters is whether, after all, each person dares to face the truth and forgive themselves. The story will continue with new challenges, as each character must pay the price for their choices. Claire will learn to overcome pain, grow more mature after the biggest event of her life. Victoria will have to face loss, with the fear of losing her daughter, and must learn to be a mother again from the beginning, in absolute sincerity. Kyle, if he continues on the path of lies, will not avoid the punishment of fate either from Diane, or from the very people he used to take advantage of. Audra, no matter how smart, will have to choose sides, and perhaps she will be the one who is most surprised when the conspiracy spiral reaches its climax. Meanwhile, Diane, with her wisdom and experience, will be the one who holds the key to the biggest secrets, deciding whether the Abbott family can withstand the coming storms. And above all, Genoa remains a place where every day can be changed by a secret revealed, a confession spoken, or a tear shed from a broken heart, as Claire cried on that fateful day. Finally, Claire decided to stand up and loudly declare to everyone that she wanted to know the truth, the whole truth, no matter the consequences. Victoria was stunned, Nikki shed tears, Victor frowned with worry, and Diane looked at Kyle with utmost caution. That night, under the yellow light, the secret was revealed, tears fell, belated apologies rang out. And in that moment, Claire understood that only by daring to face and forgive could she free herself and open a new chapter for the whole family. But things did not stop there. The truth that had just been revealed brought about a new chain of consequences. Audra, with her acumen, discovered the loopholes in Kyle's plan and began to plan a response. Diane faced a difficult choice. Protect her son to the end or go public with everything to save the family's honor? Victoria watches her daughter grow up in pain, but finds hope when Claire grows stronger than ever. And so, the story of secrets, dramas, and tears of Claire, Victoria, Kyle, Audra, Diane, and the entire Newman Abbott family continues, not only with intrigue, but also with the desire to live truthfully, to be loved and forgiven. Because in Genoa, where every secret can turn the fate of an entire family upside down, if only one person dares to tell the truth, everything can change, forever.